extravaganza of unrivaled opulence, with its spectacular circuit which twists and plunges around Montecarlo in dazzling sunshine. And today the race was due to start at 3:30, but there is dramatic news because whilst there is sunshine all around the course, I make one exception, and that exception of course is in the tunnel which goes underneath Lowe's Hotel, and there's been real drama because we've heard that there's been a fire in one of the kitchens. The French firemen are in there pouring water into that kitchen which is directly over the tunnel, so the water is going through the floor of the kitchen, through the roof of the tunnel and onto the circuit, and there is a consultation between the officials, and I saw Bernie Ecclestone, the head man of the Formula One Constructors Association. That's Jody Scheckter in the yellow shirt, the head man of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, and they are obviously deciding whether to start the race. And meanwhile the drivers, and there's John Watson, one of the Marlborough drivers, are resting, waiting phlegmatically for the race to begin. Very phlegmatically, because that is Siegfried Starr, the Arrows driver, who always meditates. He's a yoga man, and he is able totally to switch off before a race begins and thoroughly rest himself. And he's got, regrettably, an extra opportunity. Hello, Dave. Dave Luckett is the man, the Arrows mechanic whose legs were broken, whose leg, singular, was broken in Belgium in that dramatic crash which you may have seen. And that's a message from the Arrows mechanics. And meantime, now the drivers are coming out. There has been a delay while the drivers were consulted, and it has been decided, I understand, to start the race, warning the drivers and giving them time to go round on a warm-up lap, or maybe 2 warm-up laps, and see where that wet patch is. Meantime, the officials are hopeful that they'll clear the track. There is Mario Andretti, who has just won at Indianapolis, and Patrick Tambay, the French driver, and this is the position of the World Championship as Monaco begins. Reutemann is 12 points ahead of Piquet, who is 4 points ahead of Alan Jones, who is 8 points ahead of Riccardo Patrese, and they are the 4 that are dominating the championship. Here's the grid. Fastest Nelson Piquet, second Villeneuve, third Mansell, fourth Reutemann, fifth Patrese, sixth De Angelis, seventh world champion Alan Jones, eighth Lafitte, ninth Prost, 10th Watson, 11th De Cesaris, 12th Mario Andretti, 13th Arnoux, 14th Starr, 15th Cheever, 16th Tambay, 17th Pironi, 18th Bruno Giacomelli, 19th Mark Surer, and 20th Michele Alboreto, and there are 20 to start. And this glorious sight is one of the Bugattis of the type that won at Monaco for 3 years in succession, 1929, 30 and 31. And we rejoin the grid. And Nelson Piquet has been phlegmatically sitting in his car all through the delay between when the race should have begun and now, so as not to break his concentration. Gilles Villeneuve, on the other hand, the man with the turbocharged Ferrari, number 27, second fastest in practice, only 7/100ths of a second slower than Piquet, got out of his car, as did Jacques Lafitte, who is the French driver in the Talbot, 8th fastest in practice, getting into the 12-cylinder Matra, and there is the man who is the world champion, Alan Jones, only 7th fastest in practice. He had a lot of misfiring problems with his car, and hopefully they have all been overcome. Now we're going, it looks to me as though we're going up the grid to see the 6th fastest man in the new Lotus 87, first appearance, Elio De Angelis, the Lotus team leader. That's Riccardo Patrese, who holds the lap record here at Monaco, 1 minute 26.06. 4th fastest in practice, Carlos Reutemann, leading the World Championship. The man who won at Brazil, Carlos Reutemann. But the sensation of practice was Nigel Mansell, the young Englishman. His first appearance at Monaco in a Formula One car, 3rd fastest in the new Lotus 87. So, there is the grid, and here we go round the course. Now, from the start, they go round Saint-Devote, the right-hander, then uphill, up this wiggly section that the pen is indicating, round the left-hander at the Hotel de Paris into Casino Square. Then they plunge downhill to the Mirabeau, which is that tall hotel, then to the old station hairpin, then into the right-hander, which leads to the right-hander of the Portier, then into the tunnel, which is where all the trouble is, out of the tunnel doing 160 miles an hour, believe it or not, down to the chicane, which you can take flat out in fifth, and then into the left-hander at Tabac. Round the swimming pool, left, right, left, and that leads to the Rascasse Cafe, which is the block on the corner, then into the old gasworks hairpin, and back into the so-called straight. And we're ready now for the start for 76 laps. Watch the lights go to red and then to green. And there is often trouble at Saint-Devote, the first corner, because it is essential to get ahead for the climb up to the Hotel de Paris. Watch for the green and get ready for Saint-Devote. There was big trouble there last year. They're away clearly. Good start. Piquet leads from Villeneuve with Mansell third and Reutemann fourth. Patrese fifth. Jones in seventh position. De Angelis in sixth place, and they're all safely round Saint-Devote. And thank heavens for that, as they go up to the Hotel de Paris, round into Casino Square for the first time in this 76-lap race, and all is well. All is not well. Saint-Devote, that's two of the red and white cars. That's an Alfa Romeo in the background, and it's a Marlboro car, and it looks to me like De Cesaris, the car in front. That's the Marlboro car. This is a replay. Let's look and see what happened. Watch the Armco to the right. Let's try and identify the cars. The back one is Alfa Romeo. The front one is a Marlboro. So the front one is definitely De Cesaris. And I'm still trying to identify the one at the back. It's Mario Andretti in the Alfa Romeo. It's Andretti. And now back to the race. Are they going to be able to get those cars off the course in time? Villeneuve, Mansell, Reutemann is fourth, Jones is fifth, Patrese is sixth. This is the end of lap one. What about Saint-Devote? Have they got the wreckage out of the way? Piquet's through, there's Villeneuve and Mansell, Reutemann, Jones, Patrese, De Angelis seventh, then there's Lafitte. And here they come up to they're through, they've got the wreckage out of the way at Saint-Devote, and that's incredible. That is an incredible bit of recovery by these magnificent marshals here at Monaco. They've done a fantastic job. This is coming down now to the end of lap 2, round Rascasse. Nelson Piquet leads in the Brabham. And he's got a very considerable lead after only 2 laps. Villeneuve in the turbocharged Ferrari in second place. Still ahead of, let's see if yes, Mansell is in third position. Up Saint-Devote, you can see there are the 2 cars parked. The Marlboro and the Alfa Romeo, as Piquet comes up to the Hotel de Paris. Look at the gap into Casino Square. Piquet through, dropping down to the Mirabeau there. And now we're up, and Piquet is already starting to catch Marc Surer, number 14 in the ensign, who is the last man on the circuit. And Villeneuve there is second, Mansell is third, Reutemann is fourth, Jones is fifth, down to the Portier, Piquet. This is lap 11. Piquet through the tunnel, they're skirting the wet patch. There's enough room for all the cars on the racing line to get through without hitting that wet patch at all. Through the chicane, Marc Surer, who drove so brilliantly at Brazil to finish in 4th place in the appalling weather conditions, is being chased by the race leader Nelson Piquet and is about to be lapped. But if Surer doesn't move over and let Piquet through, that means to say that Villeneuve and Mansell can close right up on the Brazilian in the Brabham, number 5. And if Surer is going to move anywhere, it could be up the hill from Saint-Devote. Let's see. They're coming up to the right-hander at Saint-Devote now. Piquet's coming right up alongside him, and Surer moves over. Beautiful. Piquet through, he has already lapped Marc Surer, and now Marc Surer has got a whole line of cars closing up behind him, and it's giving Piquet the chance to break away, to really break away. down to the Mirabeau. This is where Pironi in the Tyrrell one year went right up on the back of Niki Lauda's car and took the Austrian out of the race. Now, there's Villeneuve second, Mansell is still third, Reutemann is still fourth, Jones is still fifth, and Patrese is still in sixth position as Piquet goes through the tunnel. Out of the tunnel, 160 miles an hour, believe it or not, an incredible speed through the chicane, absolutely flat out. Flick right and left into the Tabac, Sura, followed by Villeneuve, Mansell third, there are the two Williams, Reutemann and Jones, Patrese is sixth, Elio De Angelis, number 11, is seventh. And now you can see the gap and you can see how Marc Sura is going to hold up Villeneuve, and Mansell, number 12, the brilliant Englishman, has caught right up to Gilles Villeneuve and he's right underneath his rear wing. Now Marc Sura will have to let them through. He can see Villeneuve in his mirrors and he can see a whole weaving line of cars, and there they go. End of lap 12. This is Sura's opportunity to move over again, but he's moving later than he did to let Piquet through, and Piquet all the time will be pulling away then. Deuxième group, the second group. And see Villeneuve trying to get past Sura. Now Sura must move over as they go down to the Mirabeau. It's the only chance, or he'll be holding them up for the rest of the lap, and he does it. Villeneuve's through, Mansell's through, Reutemann's through. That's second, third and fourth, and Jones is through and Patrese is through. Very good manners, beautiful driving from Marc Sura, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars altogether, second to seventh. Into the Portier, the two Williamses absolutely together. Fourth and fifth, Mansell a magnificent third in the new Lotus 87, and that's wonderful vindication for Colin Chapman, the Lotus team chief. Well, the Monaco, and look at them, Patrese's close right up on Alan Jones, Sura dropping back, of course, having been lapped, and now there's a considerable gap. There's something like 9 seconds, I would estimate, between the leader Nelson Piquet and the second batch led by the Scarlet Ferrari of Gilles Villeneuve, number 27. There's the gap. That's Piquet, fastest, 1:29.044, 1 minute 29 seconds and 0.044 seconds. And that is about 3 seconds off Riccardo Patrese's 1980 lap record, but they've still got full tanks, of course. And they'll be going faster later in the race. Villeneuve has broken away a little from Nigel Mansell. This is the second place man, Villeneuve. And I saw one of the Williamses out, but I didn't like to say anything. But I thought it was Alan Jones, but it's Reutemann. Carlos Reutemann, and I see Nigel Mansell has dropped back. Sensational development. Carlos Reutemann, the man who has finished 15 races in succession in the points, into the pits with a very badly damaged nose section. And they will have to change that. So now Alan Jones has gone up to third position. Patrese is up to fourth position because Nigel Mansell has dropped back. And there is Villeneuve. Ignore the caption, it wasn't Reutemann, of course. Now there's Jones third, Patrese fourth, and De Angelis passing Nigel Mansell as they went into the station hairpin. That's interesting. Nigel Mansell is in trouble, and it's significant that Mansell was just ahead of Reutemann, that Reutemann went into the pits. I'm guessing that they've had a coming together, and that it was Mansell's rear wheel, I would guess, that must have hit Reutemann's front wing, and that accounts for the fact that he's having to change the nose cone. Patrese fourth, and there is Carlos Reutemann, the man leading the World Championship in the pits, having the nose cone changed. Well, it looks as though Carlos Reutemann's fantastic run of success and reliability is over. Not that this is a discredit to the Williams team in terms of car preparation, because they can't control the driver hitting another one, whose ever fault it was. And that's Mansell in the background coming into the pits. We just caught a flash of Nigel Mansell into the pits. So the Lotus 87, Nigel Mansell, third for those opening laps, is into the pits, as is, of course, Carlos Reutemann. And there's Mansell. That's the Englishman from Hall Green, Birmingham, talking to Nigel Stroud, the man in the earphones. And there's Reutemann in the background. Reutemann rejoining the race, and a quick look at the lap chart tells me he is in 15th position. Carlos Reutemann back in the race with a complete motor car. Obviously no damage except for that nose section which has been replaced, and out goes Mansell. Meantime, Villeneuve, and here he is in second position. That's the white Williams of Alan Jones flashing through in third place, and there's confirmation with Patrese fourth, De Angelis in the Lotus fifth, and Jacques Lafitte in the Talbot Matra 12-cylinder car in sixth position. Round the swimming pool, up to the Rascasse Cafe. Alan Jones in third position, right behind the Ferrari. Patrese right behind Alan Jones. This is typical Monaco stuff. And now up to Saint-Devote, back into third gear, second gear, 85 miles an hour, accelerate up, third, fourth, fifth gear here, 150 miles an hour, up the hill, round the hotel to Paris corner. And that's a third gear, left-hander at the Massenet, 100 miles an hour. Now down the hill, fourth gear, 125 miles an hour. And Jones is closing up on Villeneuve, no doubt about it. Alan Jones, with Reutemann out of the way, has got an extra incentive. 60 tours means 60 laps to go. That means 16 completed. And these are the second and third place men. Gilles Villeneuve in the turbocharged Ferrari, the French-Canadian, and Australian Alan Jones in the Williams. Alan Jones, who won at Long Beach, third position in the World Championship. And there's Patrese in the background, and De Angelis in fifth position. It's still tremendously close for second, third, fourth and fifth positions. Within sixth place, Jacques Lafitte, as you saw in the Talbot Matra. La Rascasse, Gilles Villeneuve. Alan Jones. Battle well and truly joined between Alan Jones, the reigning world champion, and Gilles Villeneuve, and that's Mansell. Nigel Mansell in the pits. Nigel Stroud, and they're taping up the side of the car for some reason and pouring out of the side pod. That must be steam from the radiator, and that's a bad sign, or it could be engine smoke. But anyway, there is Nelson Piquet, the superb Brazilian. Now you see this Monaco course at its very best. Piquet, first in the Argentine, first at San Marino, and they're giving us the gap between Piquet and Villeneuve, and it's 8.7 seconds, and between Piquet and Villeneuve, of course, is Alan Jones. And there, Pete Jones is ahead! Alan Jones has got ahead of Gilles Villeneuve, and we missed it. That's tragic, because it must have been a superb bit of passing, and because we saw them previously at going up to Saint-Devote, that must mean that Alan Jones got ahead of Gilles Villeneuve on the drop down to Mirabeau, and we missed it. Alan Jones in second place. Now he's only got Nelson Piquet between himself and the lead, and there was Piquet going round La Rascasse. Let's see how far back Alan Jones is. He's going to be the next man who comes into sight. And that's it. Villeneuve third, behind it Patrese still in fourth position. I remind you that De Angelis in the Lotus 87 is fifth, and Jacques Lafitte is still in sixth position. Now it's all up to Alan. He's pulling away from Villeneuve. And something I haven't had a chance to tell you yet as Villeneuve goes round the Hotel de Paris is that Alan Jones, number one, with Villeneuve chasing him, is in real pain. I'll explain why. When Villeneuve goes round the right-hander at the Mirabeau, Jones scalded his leg very badly when he crashed in the Belgian Grand Prix. Boiling water cascaded out of a pipe alongside his leg, gave him second-degree burns, and that's the way he's driving now. Maybe with the adrenaline flowing he won't feel the pain. And there's the wet patch. That wet patch, fortunately, doesn't seem to be getting any bigger, so the racing line is comparatively unsullied. Villeneuve third, Patrese fourth. Well, it's getting a bit spread out now, but I am watching this race from my commentary position and taking the time intervals between Nelson Piquet, the leader, and Alan Jones in second place, who has got Villeneuve and Patrese right behind him in third and fourth places. And I can tell you that Jones, as he comes up to Saint-Avold, accelerates away at over 100 miles an hour up the hill in perfect weather conditions, is gaining on Nelson Piquet, no doubt about it. It was over 10 seconds and the gap is coming down. Villeneuve, the turbocharged Ferrari, there's the gap. You can see it between Alan Jones at what is now Lowe's hairpin, but many people, including myself, still think of as the station hairpin because that's where the old railway station used to be at Monaco. No longer, into the tunnel, under the hotel, past the wet patch, Gilles Villeneuve in third position, Patrese in fourth. And the race pattern looks just a little set at the moment. But, as I have said before, Monaco is just as much a test of car reliability and driver stamina as it is of sheer speed. And there is a long, long way to go yet. And that's one of the Arrows cars. I can tell from the helmet, it's Siegfried Starr. It's Siegfried Starr, the Italian driver, the man we saw meditating earlier on. That's the spare car in the background. Take no notice of it. It's not Patrese's car. Siegfried Starr, then, is certainly temporarily out of the race while they work on his car. Meantime, Piquet on his way. He'll be the next car into shot round the Hotel de Paris. Now you see him dropping down the hill again. That's the Mirabeau Hotel in the background. And hello, what's this? This must be a replay. That's Alan Jones passing Villeneuve. That's where it happened. And we've seen it with Patrese. Just a quick replay that was. Alan Jones, confirmation of the fact that he passed Villeneuve on the drop down from Casino Square to the Mirabeau. That's one of two places that you can pass, and you've got to have your heart in your mouth while you do it. Real demon late braking from Alan Jones, which took him up to second position, and this is the leader. It being Nelson Piquet. Another replay, it looks to me, because the picture stops. Yes, it's another replay. We're going to see Jones take Villeneuve again. Now watch. Villeneuve doesn't give him much room, but the road has been widened there since last year. Alan Jones makes the most of it, holds the position, and gets through up into second position. Now we're looking at Tombe, Chiva, Giacomelli and Pironi. And this is the battle for 10th position. 4 cars. Patrick Tombe, the man with 1 World Championship point to his credit. And he got that at Long Beach, finishing in 6th position. He's in 10th place. There's Reutemann, catching the battle for 10th, but Reutemann is in fact a lap behind them. So it's Tombe in 10th position, Chiva 11th, Giacomelli 12th and Pironi 13th that we're looking at. Pironi had a very bad practice, crashed 3 times. Fastest lap, Alan Jones, 1 minute 20.534. So, Alan Jones, the fastest man on the course. And Pironi is through. Pironi is ahead of Giacomelli. So Pironi is now up to 11th place behind Tombe. Chiva's ahead of him. And he's in 12th position. There's Chiva, Pironi, Reutemann, who's unlapped himself once, and Eddie Chiva, the young American, Italian-American that drove for Acela last year, is really making a name for himself this year, driving for the Tyrrell team. He's still holding that 10th position, but now Pironi is up to 11th place and letting Reutemann through to unlap himself. Now, I don't know whether Pironi knew that Reutemann was a full lap behind him. I find it very difficult to believe. Meantime, don't forget that the battle is still on in the front. Piquet is still leading. Jones is still second. Villeneuve is still third. And I can tell you, while we're watching this battle for 10th position, that Alan Jones is continuing to close on Nelson Piquet. The gap is coming down. The battle for the leadership is really on as Pironi goes through, then Giacomelli. And Pironi, in the turbocharged Ferrari, has now got Reutemann in front of him as a result of letting him through in the tunnel. And 50 tours means 50 laps to go, so that's 26 laps completed in this 76-lap race. We didn't need confirmation that Reutemann would be going like smoke when he got that new nose section put on. But had we needed it, this is it. The way he has passed Pironi and Giacomelli and is closing up on Eddie Chiva. And now he's going to take him, I think, as they come down to the Mirabeau, but no. Yes, he goes through at the station hairpin, and I have never seen anybody pass there. Reutemann is really on his way. That's the position after 26 laps. Piquet, Jones, Patrese, Villeneuve, De Angelis, Lafitte. 26 laps gone, and Patrese's off. Patrese's off. Riccardo Patrese out of the race. Putting onto the pavement on the way down to the Mirabeau as we look at a replay here. And Riccardo Patrese then out of the race, and the Monaco situation is really getting on top of some of the drivers. The situation is one that constantly tests the reliability of the cars, the stamina of the drivers. Riccardo Patrese, who was fourth, is out. We look at Nelson Piquet in the lead. So De Angelis is up to fourth, Lafitte is up to fifth, and Arnoux is up to sixth. There's the confirmation of it. Yes, René Arnoux in the Renault in sixth position, with Lafitte fifth, De Angelis fourth, Villeneuve third, and then Jones and Piquet. And Jones, there's the confirmation on the caption. Jones is now only 7.5 seconds behind Piquet. He is gaining. And Nelson Piquet is catching Eddie Chiva. Arnoux out. Now there's another one. The mice are really getting at him. René Arnoux out of the race, the sixth place man. That's the Renault 20. René Arnoux crashed the new 30 car in practice and had to start in the previous model, the 20, and that's De Angelis. They're falling out like flies. Elio De Angelis, who was in fourth position, is out of the race, and it's at the Tabac. Elio De Angelis in the short little section between the chicane and the Tabac, getting out of the car and over the Armco and out of the race. So both Lotus 87s are out. Nigel Mansell, and there's Patrick Tambay going into the Tabac, and Pironi right up now with Eddie Chiva. Now, there's a bit of a consultation going on here about what to do with De Angelis' car, and there is Elio De Angelis, the 23-year-old Roman, getting a deserved round of applause from the crowd because he's driven a terrific race. And the battle for positions continues, but they're challenging. Eddie Chiva, of course, has moved up 2 places with Arnoux out and De Angelis out. And there is Patrick Tambay in the Theodore as we look at Marc Surer coming down to the Mirabeau. They're obviously waiting for the leaders, and here comes Pironi challenging Chiva, and Chiva's off! Complete spin! Pironi has... And that was Piquet behind, and Eddie Chiva somehow have got to get out of this situation. I think he will, because I can hear the engine is still running. He was in 8th position, but of course he is no longer. Getting a lot of help from the marshals. Not really allowed. Engaging gear. And through in the background. And Eddie Cheever waving his arm, his hands furiously saying, push me back, push me back. I can't get reverse, and now he's away. So Eddie Cheever back in the race, and hats off to the marshals and the recovery system, because there is Elio De Angelis's car being craned to a position of safety inside the Armco, off the course. And the marshals dragging René Arnoux' car out of the way. It's a real muscle-building job being a marshal here at Monaco. Off goes the Renault 20, and here's a replay coming up. This looks like the Cheever incident again. Eddie Cheever cutting in, and Pironi just nudges his rear wheel, accidentally, of course. Off spins Cheever, through goes Giacomelli, through goes Piquet. So if that had happened a bit later, it might well have taken Piquet off, and the gap is down to 5.4 seconds between Piquet and Alan Jones. 5.442 seconds is the gap. Écart, Piquet Jones, 5.442, that's the gap. Jones closing as we look at Lafitte. And Jacques Lafitte now in 4th position, and that's John Watson, who is up to 6th position with Alain Prost in 5th. Quite a shuffle. Quickly, Nelson Piquet that we're looking at in the lead from Jones. Jones closing, Villeneuve 3rd, Lafitte 4th, Prost 5th, Watson 6th and Tambay 7th. Piquet up to Giacomelli in the Alfa Romeo. Giacomelli in 9th position, and Reutemann in the pits again. And Reutemann out of his car. He's out for the first time in 16 races. Carlos Reutemann has retired. So his record remains at 15 finishes in the points in a World Championship race. And look at that, Alan Jones is closing. Up to the Portier. Alan Jones is catching Piquet, really catching him now, into the tunnel. What a great Monaco Grand Prix this is. Nigel Mansell out when he was in 3rd position. We've seen Arnoux out. We've seen De Angelis out. We've seen Reutemann out. And now we're seeing Nelson Piquet right on the tail of Bruno Giacomelli and past him. So he was not held up at all by the young Italian and the 12-cylinder Alfa Romeo as they go round the swimming pool section. And soon there's a quick flash of Alan Jones. Alan Jones is getting closer all the time. And there's a tremendous needle match. If Alan Jones does catch Nelson Piquet, we are going to see some real motor racing at Monaco, because now there is not a great deal of love lost between the Brazilian and the Australian. 40 tours, 36 laps gone, 40 to go. There's the positions at the end of 36 laps, with Lafitte 4th, Watson 5th, Prost 6th. Confirmation, Villeneuve 3rd, Jones 2nd, Piquet leads, and Piquet is rapidly losing his lead. Heaven knows why they've got 21.592 seconds, because you can see there that there isn't any gap. Jones is right with Nelson Piquet. Now, I said there was needle between these two, because after the last Grand Prix in Belgium, Nelson Piquet went on record as accusing Alan Jones of deliberately having him off at the chicane. And naturally, Alan Jones, look at Alan Jones challenging. He's now going to harry Nelson Piquet every inch of the way. He's going to say, I'm here on the right, I'm here on the left, see me behind you. And Nelson Piquet is going to need every ounce of determination and a phlegmatic approach to keep Alan Jones behind him and not overdo things. Look at Alan. He's weaving his way down to the Mirabeau, now round station hairpin. And they're pulling away a pace from Gilles Villeneuve, who is still in 3rd position. Lafitte is still 4th, Watson is 5th and Prost is 6th. And Jones nearly loses it going into the tunnel. Jones nearly spun as he went into the tunnel there, and that's given Nelson Piquet the opportunity to break away a bit. Let's look at the gap. There's the gap. Nelson Piquet, and he's absolutely on the ragged edge. Now, Alan Jones, who was so close that his front wing was almost touching Nelson Piquet's gearbox, has dropped back. You can see the gap for yourselves. And Alan will have to work, just as he did before, to catch up to Nelson Piquet. And then, having caught him, try to harry him enough to make him let him by, or to make a mistake. But Nelson Piquet doesn't make mistakes these days. He has an old head on young shoulders. Nelson Piquet is 28 years old, and this is his 40th Grand Prix. Alan Jones at 34, the world champion, virtually a veteran now, with 11 Grand Prix victories behind him, and this is his 87th Grand Prix. And you're seeing the two top men in the business, plus Carlos Reutemann, of course, we mustn't forget him, at their very best now. Through the tunnel, and of course, the demands that this course makes on a driver are enormous. There is nowhere at Monaco that a driver can relax for even a split second. They do not even have time to look at the instruments, which is why critical things like oil pressure at Monaco are shown by means of lights. Rascasse, Jones second. Up from Rascasse and out of it, an enthralled crowd. Up to Saint-Devote. Look at the gap. Is it coming down? 30 tours, 46 laps completed, 30 to go in this 76 lap, 156 mile race. And Alan's gaining again. You can see it. You can see it with the naked eye, never mind the stopwatch, that Alan Jones is gaining again on Piquet. Positions, Villeneuve third, Lafitte fourth, Watson fifth, Prost sixth, no change. A good drive by Alan Watson in the new MP4 Marlboro. A great drive by Alan Prost in the new Renault 30 in sixth position. So a Brazilian leads an Australian with a French-Canadian third, a Frenchman fourth, an Englishman, an Irishman fifth, and Alain Prost, the Frenchman, in sixth position. Piquet leads. La Rascasse. Alan Jones next. I would estimate, and I'll check it on the stopwatch as they come past me now, that the gap is something like 3 seconds. And as they go into Saint-Devote, I confirm that it is now less than 3 seconds. 25 tours, 51 to go. I made it 2.4 seconds, the gap between Nelson Piquet and Alan Jones, and it's closing all the time. Look at that, into Casino Square again. Past Riccardo Patrese's Broken Arrows car, down to the Mirabeau, down to the station hairpins, first gear, 60 miles an hour, down to the Portier, second gear, third gear, 100 miles an hour, into the tunnel, Alan Jones second, number one, the world champion. Piquet. Saint-Devote, trouble, that's Alboreto in the second of the Tyrrells, and the car in front of him, all I can tell you is that it's an Alfa, it must be Giacomelli, it's an Alfa Romeo. Yes, I can tell from the helmet and his figure that it's Giacomelli. They're off at Saint-Devote, and Piquet and Jones are due. There's Tombay through. Now, once again, this fantastic Monaco recovery deal is swinging into action. Out comes a jack. Off the ground comes Alboreto's rear wheels. They're dragging the car back off the course. And down, look at the top, by the word Ajip, you see the crane sling coming down. This is a replay. Let's see what happened. All we saw was what had happened. Alboreto goes round. He's in ninth position, or was, and he spins it Right, almost, and Giacomelli, there he goes. There was no way that Giacomelli could avoid him. He was completely unsighted as he came round Saint Devote, and that would be at about 90 miles an hour. And it shows you how strong the cars are, because both the drivers are perfectly okay. Michele Alboreto means the car on the right, not the car on the left. There's the crane sling already being positioned. They got it right this time. Bruno Giacomelli. And the crane driver, who must have been longing for this moment for 3 days, he's been sitting there. And off comes Bruno Giacomelli's broken, very broken Alfa Romeo. And it's no fault of Giacomelli's. Alboreto was the man at fault, if you could call it fault. He was just trying to take Saint Devote a bit too quick, which he most certainly did. Another replay. Now there's Alboreto. He goes in. You see the back of the car drift out. It goes right round, almost through 180 degrees. What can I do? He says nothing, because there's Giacomelli to say hello in a very big way. And the course for the few moments is completely blocked. Alboreto has the good sense to engage gear and get his car off the racing line. And already both cars are completely clear of the course, and no words of mine can be complimentary enough for the superb service that those marshals and recovery people carry out. Piquet leading. Past Patrase's car. Look how close Jones is. While we have been concentrating on the crash, Jones has been concentrating on Piquet, and we see the answer. Watch the rear of Piquet's car. It's just drifting out. He's been very, very hard pressed indeed. Nelson Piquet through the chicane, and the next one through is Jones. And who's that? That is Piquet! It's Nelson Piquet, the race leader. He's lost it. I can't just see where. Yes, I can. I can recognise from the yacht in the foreground. That is at the Tabac. Nelson Piquet, the race leader. The man who's second in the World Championship, or was, because he won't be at the end of this race. If Jones goes on the way he is, Piquet out of the race. Absolute sensation. I don't know what happened. I just suddenly, like you, saw Piquet's Brabham smash into the Armco. And that means that Alan Jones is now leading at Monaco. This is a replay of something we did. It's from a different angle. There is Chiva, number 3. Tombay in the white car. He goes across Piquet. And for some unaccountable reason, Piquet slams straight into the Armco. Maybe he was unsighted. Maybe we'll see it again, and I'll be able to have a closer look. But meantime, this well-drilled, well-oiled recovery machine at Monaco, comprising the orange, overalled marshals with their green hats. And this is a replay. Now, Chiva on the racing line. Tombay is out wide. Tombay comes behind Chiva's car. He cuts across. Piquet, I can only think that Piquet was momentarily unsighted, lost the racing line, and it will be, I suspect there will be a rather sharp interview between Piquet and Tombay in the paddock after this race, and I suspect that Piquet might even be suggesting that Patrick Tombay got in his way and had him off, but that's for Piquet to say and not for me. Anyway, Piquet is out of the race, and we have a new race leader, and that was him. You just saw a flash of the car being Alan Jones, and there is the only Williams car of the two that started. Nouveau leader. New leader, Alan Jones. The second leader that we've had in this race, and surely now the Monaco Grand Prix, the 39th, 1981, has got to go to Alan Jones, because he has a very considerable cushion of some 30 seconds between himself and Gilles Villeneuve, who is now in second position in the Ferrari, a great achievement. There's Lafitte third, Pironi fourth, Chiva fifth, and Patrick Tombay is in sixth position. That was after 56 laps, and we've gone on from that, of course. But Alan Jones now knows from his pit signals that he has an enormous lead over Gilles Villeneuve. It's going to be another Williams victory as we look at Villeneuve. I say another because Carlos Reutemann won at Monaco last year. Alan Jones retired at Monaco when he was in second position in 1980, and he's going to get his revenge because the only thing that could stop Alan now is car reliability, and we all know that Williams cars do not break down because Reutemann put up that fantastic record of 15 races in succession in the World Championship positions, and Alan Jones is a very crafty and seasoned campaigner, and he will know that he can even afford to lose a second or two, a lap in the race distance that's left, and still win. He can brake a little earlier, he can change gear a little earlier, he can make sure that he leaves himself plenty of room on the corners, and you can see that he's doing it. He's leaving himself room on all the corners not to make any mistakes and bang the car. He will make sure to keep clear of other competitors. And all the time, of course, the man from Glenburn in Victoria is fighting against the pain of that left leg, his badly burned left leg. And this is one of the best drives I've seen in Grand Prix racing for a very long time. Hats off too to number 27 in the red Ferrari, deuxième position, second place, Gilles Villeneuve. The car they said was going to break down, it certainly hasn't, and it doesn't look as though it's going to. The Ferrari has been completely reworked for Monaco. The engine characteristics have been changed. There's Alan Jones coming down to the station hairpin. No sign of Gilles Villeneuve, because that car behind is certainly not Villeneuve. It was Patrick Tambay, actually, the car behind Alan Jones as he came down from the station hairpin. Jones out of the tunnel, metaphorically speaking, all over, bar the shouting, with over 30 seconds between number 1 world champion Alan Jones, number 27 Villeneuve in second position. Lafitte is still third in the Talbot Matra, and that car has come on a pace since before the Belgian Grand Prix. The Talbot Matra is really going. The second Ferrari, just to underline their reliability, of Didier Pironi is in fourth position, with Eddie Cheever, who has been lapped, in fifth place, and the determined good luck to him, Mark Schurer, in sixth place. There's confirmation. 32.9 seconds between Jones and Villeneuve, 33 seconds between Villeneuve and Lafitte. So there's over a full minute between Jones and the third man. What is this? Because as I said that, I see that Gilles Villeneuve has closed. It's no longer 30 seconds. Gilles Villeneuve, and I've got the news. Jones has been into the pits. Incredible. Jones has been into the pits, and according to the message that I've had, he's taken on about 3 gallons of fuel. Now, I did hear Jones's car misfire as it went past me once, but I thought I was hearing things. But Jones must be in trouble. .9 seconds. It was over 32 seconds. Jones goes into the pits, and that was a calculation. And there's Villeneuve. Look how close Villeneuve is to Alan Jones now as they come down to the portiere. Jones leads Villeneuve, then there's Lafitte, then there's Pironi, then there's Cheever, then there's Schurer. I tell you that because we have to concentrate on the battle for the lead. And it is the battle for the lead. First of all, Piquet left, then sensationally off goes Nelson Piquet. Alan Jones goes into the lead. I thought that it was all over bar the shouting, but it isn't. There's a lot of shouting going on around the circuit, and that shouting is to encourage, look at them, to encourage Gilles Villeneuve to catch Alan Jones, and he's doing it all the time, you can see, down to La Rascasse. Jones. Now Jones has got Eddie Cheever in front of him, who's in 5th position. And if Cheever doesn't move over and let Jones through, that means to say that Villeneuve, who has got the bit well and truly between his teeth now, who can scent victory, will close right up on Alan Jones. And there's an enormous contingent of Ferrari fans here from nearby Italy, and if Villeneuve catches Jones, they will go mad with excitement. But even if he catches Jones, I can't see him getting past. Jones won't let that happen, and it's very easy to make sure that if you stay on the racing line at Monaco, don't get harried. Jones up to Cheever. Now remember, Cheever was holding up Pironi, and he went off, and he's let him through. Lap 70 with 6 laps to go, and Jones is past Cheever. There's Villeneuve, and now Villeneuve will have to deal with, and there's the gap. It's down from 4.2 to 3.9 seconds. Oh boy, what a race at Monaco. Gilles Villeneuve in the turbocharged 1.5 litre 500 horsepower Ferrari is catching Alan Jones out of the tunnel. Down to the chicane. Flick left right instantaneously. Cheever, there's Cheever, 5th position. He's been lapped by Alan Jones. Is he going to let Villeneuve through? He could let him through on the approach to Saint-Devote, otherwise it would be down at the Mirabeau. And there's Jones with Cheever sandwiched between Jones, the leader, and Villeneuve second. We are in the closing stages of yet another highly dramatic Monaco Grand Prix. Cheever up to La Rascasse. Now Villeneuve will, if he gets his foot down, may get through. He's doing it. Cheever's going through. I saw them from the back and he's through. Villeneuve is past Cheever. Villeneuve past Cheever. Jones leads. Villeneuve's with him. Lap 72, 76 lap race. And I can hear the crowd shouting in the background. Station hairpin. You can see them, you can hear them. I can hear them roaring over the engine noise. The crowd is really going mad. 9.9, less than a second between Alan Jones, the leader, and Gilles Villeneuve. I remember one Monaco Grand Prix when Jack Brabham came down to the last corner on the last lap in the lead with Jochen Rindt behind him in the Lotus, and Jochen Rindt, off went Brabham, and Rindt went through to win from the last corner on the last lap. Are we going to see that happen here? It seems inconceivable to me, because Alan Jones, as I have said, will know the situation, and it is impossible for someone to get past at Monaco if the man in front isn't prepared to cooperate with you, unless you've got an enormously superior car in terms of braking or engine power. But Jones must be in some sort of trouble to have allowed Villeneuve to close up on him as much as he has, and Villeneuve goes through! Fantastic! Gilles Villeneuve leads! Lap 73, Gilles Villeneuve has blasted past Alan Jones, whose car is very definitely in trouble. Yet another nouveau leader, the third of the race. First it was Piquet, then it was Jones, and now it is Villeneuve. Magnificent! The darling of the Italian crowd, Gilles Villeneuve, and Ferrari have come good. This is great for motor racing. The Williams team have been victorious time after time, and that is great, but it doesn't do. And a replay, Villeneuve comes up to Jones on the approach to Saint-Devote and rips past the Williams. Up from Saint-Devote, up the hill, into the Hotel de Paris corner, down the hill to the Mirabeau, and now we're almost at the end of that lap with Gilles Villeneuve. I hesitate to say it because I said it about Alan Jones and I've been proved to be wrong. Gilles Villeneuve seemingly on his way to a magnificent victory. And if Villeneuve, there's Jones, and he's obviously in trouble. Closing up behind Jones are Patrick Tambay, who is in 7th place. And by the way, there are only 7 cars left in the race. And Eddie Cheever, who is 5th, and they're on different laps. And there's 2 laps to go. Gilles Villeneuve, the 29-year-old Quebecois, the man from Quebec who actually lives in Monaco. He's a local boy, and my goodness, he's making good today. the ex-Canadian snowmobile and Formula Atlantic champion, in his 53rd Grand Prix, and in his career he has won 4 Grand Prix already, so this could be his 5th. I'm not going to say, I dared say it will be his 5th. Through the tunnel, and this is the worrying time. Villeneuve will know he's leading. He will know that he's only got a short distance to go because each lap is only 2.06 miles. And this is really the time. Look at the crowd. This is really the time when you have to make sure that you don't put a wheel wrong and you have to watch your mirrors. But he will see a clear road behind him. Down to La Rascasse again, down through the gears. Take it quite wide, give yourself plenty of room. Out of the gasworks hairpin. Round up towards Saint-Devote. There's the official 1 lap to go. That's the traditional sign, Dernier Tour, last lap, always at Monaco. The Finnish official, the man with the checkered flag, stands out on the line, holds one finger up to say 1 lap to go. And this is going to be the most worrying 2 miles that Gilles Villeneuve has done for a long time in his racing career. 4 wins behind him. Is he going to win for the first time at Monaco? Down to and round the Mirabeau for the very last time. Jones is still second, I tell you. Lafitte is third. Pironi is fourth. Cheever is fifth. They're on different laps. Marc Jura is going to get a point, and Tombe is the last man in the running. 20 started out of the 32 that came here to qualify, and there are only 7 left. That tells you how demanding Monaco is. And the man who's beating the system is here, Villeneuve. Tabac, this is where Piquet went off last time. Out go the Ferrari flags, Forza Ferrari. Swimming pool, last time. La Rascasse, last time. This is where Jack Brabham went off when it was the gasworks hairpin. But Villeneuve's not being harried, he's going to win. Villeneuve is winning the 39th Monaco Grand Prix. And Ferrari is really back in the hunt. Victory for Villeneuve. A superb achievement, and Alan Jones, who's obviously got some sort of trouble, has got Tombe right behind him, and Tombe is in 7th place. Behind Tombe is Pironi. I just caught a flash of the red Ferrari. And see Alan's head moving. He's running out of fuel in the closing stages of the race. Alan Jones, is he going to make it to 2nd position? Pironi is coming through in 4th place, but he's a lap adrift. Only 3 cars are going to finish on the same lap, and Jacques Lafitte is going to be 3rd. Is Alan Jones going to make it across the line? Yes, he does, but very slowly. Tombe 7th, Pironi 4th, and there is the hero of the day, Gilles Villeneuve, who has driven a magnificent race, and in their first season with this new turbocharged car, Ferrari have won a Grand Prix. And it took Renault 2 years to do the same thing. Jones 2nd, Lafitte 3rd, Pironi 4th, Cheever 5th, and we're seeing all 7 because only 7 finished. Jura 6th, and Tombe in 7th position. Oh, the champagne, the traditional champagne for Gilles Villeneuve. And of course, that makes a difference to the championship positions, because Gilles Villeneuve drinks the champagne and knows that he has got 9 points for the championship, and my quick estimate says that that will put him in 6th position. Yes, there it is. No, Patrese still 6th. Reutemann leads, Jones 2nd, Piquet in 3rd position, Villeneuve is in 4th position with 12 points, and Jacques Lafitte ahead of Riccardo Patrese, and they are the 6 men who are still very much in the running for the World Championship of 1981. So ends a great Monaco Grand Prix, and with Williams cars first and second in the Manufacturers' Championship, Williams drivers first and second in the Drivers' Championship, Ferrari very much back in the hunt. The next race is obviously going to be one to watch, and that is at Spain in 2 weeks' time.
Le vainqueur de cette épreuve qui a été disputée sur 24 tours est Alain Ferrand.